Hello and welcome to part 1 in a series of videos I'm putting out this week where I break down all the fights taking place this weekend at UFC on ESPN 3 from a betting perspective. Now last weekend's card, UFC on ESPN Plus 7, wasn't very good for pre-fight betting. In actual fact, it was the first UFC event since August of last year where I didn't have any pre-fight bets at all. But luckily it wasn't a complete waste of time because it did turn out to be amazing for live betting, and last weekend on that Russian card I did make my biggest profit of the year so far, which was amazing. But this week UFC on ESPN 3 looks much better for pre-fight betting, so I recommend checking out all my videos this week and spending as much time as you can listening to the information I give you, so I do think that there are a few very good bets this week. But what I will also say, guys, is this week, unfortunately, is extremely busy. Now, I know that I always promise to do live streams if we hit a like target on each of the videos, and unfortunately, I was really looking forward to doing that live stream video last week for the Russian card, but we didn't hit the like target. I asked for 150 likes on the each of the videos I put out last week, and one of them, part 2, didn't get it, which is annoying. So it did come out in well in advance of UFC Russia. Only got 143 likes. Now 150 likes is not a crazy amount of likes, guys. It's less than 10% of the total views this video got. So please, if you're sat there, please just hit the thumbs up button. I can't offer any incentive this week, but for a reason I will mention in a moment. But please, if you hit the like button, if you subscribe to this channel, it will help the channel grow a lot. It will give me an incentive to keep producing this content for you. It will give me an incentive to keep producing these videos for you, because I get nothing out of them and it takes me a ton of time. So please hit the like button, please hit the subscribe button. It is the least you can do. And the reason why I can't offer any incentive to like the video this week is because it is going to be an insanely busy week for betting on MMA. If we check this betting schedule on my website, you can see here that Saturday this week, and these start times are basically the start times for if you're in the United Kingdom. If you actually come to my homepage, MMABettingTips.com, and click the betting tips link by here, or go to MMABettingTips.com/betting-tips, it will take you to this schedule with all the upcoming events that we can look forward to. And as you can see, Saturday is a very busy day. We have got a UFC event, a KSW event, and a Bellator event. So needless to say, I'm going to be absolutely stacked out this week. I will not be leaving my desk all week. I'm literally going to be sat here eating pizza, drinking Red Bull, and researching fights. I'm just kidding. I don't eat any of that shit. I eat good. I eat good. Don't worry about me, guys. I'm not going to die from cheese sweats or something, or overdose on Red Bull. It's all good. I will be eating good, but trust me, I will not be going outside very much. I will not be seeing much daylight. I will be chained at this desk researching fights. So I will try to put out as many videos as I can, but please remember that my job is to make money betting on MMA, and also give a lot of information to my members on my website so they can also make good money betting on MMA. I have to prioritize my research, and with 3 major MMA events taking place in one day, that is an enormous workload to research all those fights in just 1 week. So I can't offer any incentives for liking the videos this week. I really would love it if you could, though, just to show some appreciation. And also, I can't promise I will get all 4 parts of the breakdown videos out for UFC on ESPN 3, because by Thursday of this week, I mean we're at Monday now, but by Thursday my workload is going to really build up and it's going to get really busy when I need to start focusing on those KSW and Bellator fights. So just give you guys a heads up what the situation is. But let's now jump into the first fight that I want to talk about in today's video, which is going to be Greg Hardy versus Dmitry Smolyakov. Now, Smolyakov was a fighter who had a little run in the UFC before. He had 2 fights against Luis Henrique and Cyril Asker, lost both of them, so they cut him, and then they sent him away, and he fought in a small regional promotion in Russia, picked up a win against this guy, Evgeny Boiva, and he won that fight, and now they've brought him back as cannon fodder for their golden boy Greg Hardy, who they are trying their hardest to gift wins to by giving him extremely soft matchmaking. And I've got absolutely no problem with giving a young, talented, athletic prospect easy matchups and letting them build their career. I absolutely love to see them, not throw them to the wolves very early on in their career like we've seen them do to many fighters in the past, like Paige Van Zandt, Sage Norcutt. I think it's great. Obviously, Hardy is 30 years old, which is quite a bit older than the young prospects we've seen throw to the wolves in the past, but at the same time, 30 years old is very young for a heavyweight. But I couldn't give a fuck what they do with Greg Hardy, to be honest. He's a prick. He comes across as an absolute dickhead in interviews. He's just like a sleazy, weird dude that I get a really dark energy from, and obviously he's got a history of domestic abuse, so fuck this guy. Obviously, he's fucking huge. He's 6'5". And he looks really scary, and he'd rip my face off if I said that to him, so I would never be brave enough to say it to his face. But yeah, he's a twat, so it's kind of annoying to see the UFC slow roll him and give him these very winnable matchups, because I cannot wait for the day that we see someone absolutely cave his face in. And I'm sure it will come, because Greg Hardy is a fighter that does have substantial weaknesses. His ground game is at a very low level. His striking defense isn't very good at all, and he is very reckless. He does take a lot of risks with wild, looping, sloppy punches that he throws that leave him wide open to being KO'd. But having said that, he does train at American Top Team. My nose is itching again. Does train at American Top Team, which means he will be making big improvements from fight to fight. And just because a fighter has some weaknesses doesn't automatically mean they're going to lose. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure if Dmitry Smolyakov is the kind of guy to make Greg Hardy pay for his weaknesses, to be honest, because Smolyakov doesn't really have any offensive wrestling. He's also at a very low level on the ground, and he's not particularly dangerous standing. Smolyakov is just a really low level guy, basically a body that the UFC are bringing in to try and gift Greg Hardy another win and build him up so they can try and get him into some high profile fights and make some money off him. But Smolyakov, I just don't think he's got the skills to really cause Hardy a problem. Obviously this is MMA, obviously this is anything can happen, especially in the heavyweight division where every fighter carries enough power in their hands to knock their opponent out. But Smolyakov's not particularly dangerous, not particularly skilled, and Greg Hardy should have enough to get past this guy, to be honest with you. If we look at the odds on this fight, Greg Hardy is currently around about a 1.33 favourite, which gives him an implied probability of 75%. And if you've watched my breakdown videos from last week where I talked about Alistair Overeem versus Alexei Olenek, I said that I believed Alistair Overeem would absolutely destroy Olenek, said he was better than Olenek everywhere, but still, because Overeem was a big favourite, I couldn't bet him, because anything can happen in MMA fights. One big bomb lands and it's all over. And using that same logic, even though Greg Hardy should win this fight, there's no way that I can bet him at these odds, because to basically bet him at these odds, you have to give him an 80% better or chance of winning. And that's just ludicrous, to be honest with you, when you consider how dangerous heavyweight fighters are. He might get injured, he might get disqualified like he actually did in his last fight against Alan Crowder. He was disqualified for throwing an illegal knee. He might suffer with nerves and anxiety on fight day, although that's very unlikely because he seems like an absolute psychopath. But it's just not odds I would consider betting a heavyweight at, unless they were at an extremely high level and they were fighting someone that didn't really pose too much of a risk for them. So this was a really easy pass for me. Don't recommend betting that fight, guys. But don't worry, I know I pass on a lot of fights. I see people moaning in the comments that I pass all the time. And guess what, guys? It's fucking hard to make money gambling. It's very hard to make a living betting on a sport like MMA, which, right, so few people do it. Why do you think I keep things so tight, and why do you think I'm so selective? It's because I have fucking bills to pay, and it's very important to keep things tight and only put your money in strong positions. That's why I fucking pass all the time. I'm not betting on fucking serial killer dudes like Greg Hardy that likes to beat women, Fuck that shit. We are on to the next fight now. Glover Teixeira against Ion Cutelaba. And I will say, we have seen some inaccurate odds this year. We really have. If you look at the odds on Belal Muhammad just a couple of weeks ago against Curtis Melender, loads of value there with him at almost even money. Jorge Masvidal, a big underdog against Darren Till, loads of value there. Shek Congo, big underdog against Vitaly Minakov. big value there. Jussier Formiga at underdog odds was a great bet against Davison Figueiredo, and Saparbek Safarov was also a great bet at underdog odds against that Romanian dude whose name that no one can even pronounce. These are all underdog bets that we've hit in 2019. These are all massively inaccurate odds, and I talked to you passionately about how inaccurate these odds have been. And this fight between Cutelaba and Glover Teixeira is definitely up there in the top 3 most inaccurate odds that I have seen this year, because Glover Teixeira is an underdog to Ion Cutelaba, and if you think that is right, you are fucking blind, man. Do you even watch MMA? Who set these odds? Who set these odds? Who thought Glover should be an underdog to Ion Cutelaba? The fuck is, like, literally, this dude should be fired. I'm not complaining. Helps me buy nice cars and book good holidays and eat good food. But fuck me. You're a dumbass if you think Cutelaba should be a favourite over Teixeira. Get out my face with that shit. Now, I get it. I get it, guys. I get it. To the naked eye, Glover is 39 years old. He's old. He's on a steep decline. Father Time is definitely catching up with him. He's very slow now. His striking defense isn't very good at all. He's very rigid and clunky and stiff in his movement. I get it. He's not a safe bet. There's lots of issues with him. But fuck me, there's issues with Cutelaba too. Jesus. This is a classic example of the betting websites, the odds makers who set these odds, and the casual betting public who have only just recently started to correct them. You know, his odds of Glover's odds have only started declining in the last 24 hours. I gave this bet out to my members on my website yesterday. 16 hours ago. So they were able to get in on this bet at much better odds. He was around about 2.50 yesterday. He's now down to around about 2.30. So he's about plus 150 yesterday. He's now down to plus 130. Not a major difference, to be honest with you. But finally, the casual betting public are correcting these massively inaccurate odds. And this is a classic example of the odds makers, the betting sites, and the casual betting public completely exaggerating one guy's weaknesses in Glover Teixeira and completely overlooking the weaknesses of his opponent, because Ion Cutelaba has substantial weaknesses. Ion Cutelaba has some of the worst takedown defense in the UFC's light heavyweight division by a mile, and he is a white belt on the ground. He has absolutely no grappling skills at all. He is at a very low level on the ground, and as we know, Glover Teixeira is a very strong grappler. He's got a nice single leg, a very deep double leg takedown, and he's at a very, very, very high level on the ground. He is light years ahead of Cutelaba on the ground. Very high level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He's also got a heavy top game. He can inflict an enormous amount of damage from top position, and he's also got a wide range of submissions that he goes to. And I also love Glover because he's one of these high level grapplers that always favours position over submission. He never risks giving up a dominant position while chasing a long shot submission. He just puts you in a bad position on the ground, shuts your shit down and beats you up. And Glover also has the heart of a lion, legendary cardio, good enough cardio to spam takedowns for 15 minutes solid. And Cutelaba's takedown defense is absolutely garbage. He will not be able to keep this fight standing. The only way he wins is if he lands a flash KO, which could absolutely happen. Because let's face it, Cutelaba's 25 years old. He's a young, hungry, powerful, athletic beast. Legit one-shot KO power in every strike. And Glover is very easy to hit these days. He's very slow. His chin hasn't completely shot yet. It is not completely shot yet. He's still tough. But he is starting to get rocked or dropped a lot. And Cutelaba hits very hard. But it is one hell of a lot easier to take someone down and dominate them on the ground when they have no takedown defense than it is to land a kill shot on a tough Brazilian that is trying to fight inside and fight in a phone booth to beat you up in the clinch and put you on the ground. Glover's not going to be interested in fighting Cutelaba in a range where Cutelaba can land a knockout shot. Glover's going to be all the way in against the cage working for takedowns, or he's going to be all the way out the outside trying to avoid Cutelaba's power strikes. And also don't forget, Cutelaba does slow down as the fight progresses. He becomes significantly less dangerous in the second half of the fight. So if Glover can just tie him up and make him work hard for takedowns in the first round, this guy's going to fade hard and he's going to be he's going to be an absolute cakewalk for Glover in the third round, in the second half of the second round. So yes, guys, I know there will be people out there that will be like, oh, hey, you know, what? You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Ion Cutelaba was a member of the fucking Macedonian national Greco-wrestling Roman team. Greco-Roman wrestling team. Yeah, he was. I'm pretty sure he was. But I'm guessing that the Macedonian national wrestling team is fucking terrible, because this guy has some of the worst takedown defense I've ever seen in the light heavyweight division. So I don't care what wrestling team he was on. He's fucking garbage. And also there will be other people that will say, oh, you know, Cutelaba's going to knock Glover out, bro. Well, yeah, possibly. He might. He hits like a fucking truck. He could definitely knock Glover out. But win or lose, Glover's an amazing bet. Glover's one of the best bets of the year, win or lose, because at the end of the day, he's a very strong grappler, amazing ground game, very good offensive wrestling, and Cutelaba's takedown defense is garbage. I mean, Cutelaba got taken down by Jared fucking Cannonier. Jared Cannonier, a guy that trains in, or back when they fought, was literally a kickboxer training in some fucking farm on a mountain in Alaska somewhere. You know, come on, man. I don't want to hear it. Yes, Cutelaba can win. Anything can happen in MMA, but Glover is an amazing bet. So if we look at the odds, guys, Glover's odds currently around about an average of 2.30. He was much better yesterday when I tipped him to my members. He was around about 2.50, but plus 130 for the Americans, giving him an implied probability of 43%. And that is fucking value all day long. If you are blind and you don't know anything about fighting and you're Ion Cutelaba's mum, the very best you can cap this fight is 50-50. In which case you still have a 7% margin over the betting sites, which is amazing. But if you actually do understand fighting, you've got to cap Glover at closer to 60%, which means there's an enormous amount of value here. That's a 17% margin over the betting sites. That's fucking amazing, and I get excited because this is a golden opportunity to make money. I don't care if Glover wins, I don't care if Cutelaba wins. All I know is if I consistently keep putting my money in positions like this and keep placing bets like this over the long term, I'll make bank. And inaccurate odds like this give me so much strength and confidence knowing that I've got a very bright future, because when there are odds as inaccurate as this, it's basically impossible not to make money. The bookies fucked up here. These odds are way off, guys, trust me. So if we look at the odds on Cutelaba, it's basically pointless talking about him. The average is about 1.67 for an implied probability of minus 149, giving him an implied probability of 60%. The odds are the wrong way round here. Cutelaba should be around about 2.30. Glover should be closer to 1.67. The bookies fucked up. They probably got their names wrong. They didn't do their homework. Fingers crossed Glover comes through for us this weekend. I definitely recommend that you bet him. And that is that. Oh, the only thing that I didn't cover that I want to say... Sorry, my notes are on the floor. The only thing that I didn't say was that, obviously, in the past, Glover was a brawler. He had a reputation for being a brawler. He was a tough guy. He liked to box. Didn't always use his high-level grappling that much. But now that Glover's been dinged a few times, rocked, dropped, knocked out a few times over the last few years, and now that he's much slower, he is a great fighter because he has now understood his weaknesses. He's understood that his body's changing, he's getting older, and he needs to adapt his fighting style. And now Glover has just turned into a wrestler. He comes out looking to take all his opponents down, to use his high-level ground game, and he really doesn't play with striking at all, which is very good to see. So unlike a lot of aging veterans that never really adapt and then they end up going on huge losing streaks because they just get knocked out all the time by these young, hungry bulls, Glover's not like that. He understands that he's now limited at 39 years old and he's making adjustments, and I love to see that. So Glover, can't say enough good things about how good of a bet he is this weekend. We now move on to the final fight that I want to talk about on this card, and I've literally got to get this done quickly because I'm supposed to be going out and getting some food in about 10 minutes. We're going to smash through this quickly, guys. It is Jack Hermansson against Ronaldo Jacare Souza, the main event, the short notice main event. Jacare Souza was supposed to be rematching Yoel Romero until Romero had to pull out a few weeks ago. Have I got that right? Okay, Romero was supposed to be facing Borraquinho, so there's been all kinds of changes to this card by the look, or the main event by the look of it. But this is a very, very tricky fight for betting, guys. Make no mistake about it. It is a difficult fight for betting because this is the type of fight where you have an aging veteran, 39 years old. He's going to, just like Glover Teixeira, he's going to be on a very steep decline. He is going to be, his cardio is going to be declining every fight. His chin is going to be declining every fight, but he's still a high level, still very good everywhere, still hits hard, still has got a great chin, still got good striking defense, and still obviously one of the highest level grapplers in the UFC at the moment. But in Jack Hermansson, we've got a relatively young middleweight at 30 years old, making big improvements from fight to fight, who's very tough, has a ton of heart. We saw in his fight against Thales Leites how tough he is. Leites put him in some terrible positions and he was able to fight through them. But on face value, no one can ignore the fact that Ronaldo Jacare Souza has a massive advantage over Hermansson everywhere in this fight. And you know what, that's maybe a little bit harsh. He doesn't have a massive advantage over Hermansson everywhere. I would say that there's a reasonably big advantage when it comes to striking, although Hermansson fights very long, he's very hard to hit, does a really good job of staying out of trouble. I would say Hermansson's actually the stronger wrestler than Jacare, but obviously Jacare is just at a much higher level on the ground. If these boys go to the ground, Hermansson's going to be in big trouble. And the problem with Hermansson is, because he is such a strong, powerful, athletic guy, a really strong wrestler, that does get him into trouble when he faces guys like Thales Leites, or when he faces guys like Ronaldo Jacare Souza, or when he faces guys like Cesar Muchanje Ferreira, who submitted him by arm triangle choke. Because Hermansson isn't really that dangerous a striker, isn't really a comfortable striker, so his natural instinct, primarily being a grappler, primarily being a wrestler, is to try and take his opponents down and get sucked into these grappling exchanges. But obviously, when you're facing these high-level guys, because Jack Hermansson's quite at a low level from a technical Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu point of view, you do find that Hermansson puts himself in a lot of bad positions on the ground, makes a lot of mistakes on the ground, and also finds himself getting caught in really deep submissions on the ground, which is an issue here because Jacare is obviously devastating when it comes to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. There are just levels to grappling, and Jacare is at a completely different level to Hermansson. So this is a tricky fight because obviously I've just come out and said that Jacare's got an amazing chin, better striker, light years ahead of Hermansson when it comes to grappling, so naturally you'd be thinking that Jacare would be a good bet here. And to be honest with you, if this was a 3-round fight, I think Jacare would be a great bet here, because I feel that Jacare's, I'm pretty sure, I'm like 60 to 70% sure Jacare is going to win the first 2 rounds of this fight, but then obviously we know that he slows down as the fight progresses. Obviously he gassed out quite badly against Kelvin Gastelum in the 2nd round. He also, even though he managed to get a 3rd round finish against Weidman, he was also fading in this fight. If you go back and watch this fight, Jacare did slow down a lot in the 2nd round. But one thing about Jacare is, even when he gets very tired, he still has power in his hands and he still has a good chin. He's still very, very tough. He's the kind of guy you have to practically kill in order to beat. So if this was a 3-round fight, I would definitely bet Jacare, because I feel like he's skilled enough to win the first 2 rounds and tough enough to survive the 3rd round and win a decision if he doesn't manage to finish Hermansson. But the fact that this is a 5-round fight does complicate things, because if we look at the odds, the current average odds available on Jacare around about, call it 1.56, which is minus 179 for an implied probability of 64%. Is risky betting on Jacare here, because to get any value on Jacare at all, you've got to give him a 70% or better chance of winning, which is tough when we know that if he doesn't get a finish within the first sort of 7 or 8 minutes of the fight, if Jack Hermansson's able to then drag him into the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th rounds, Jacare's probably going to be absolutely gassed out of his mind, and Hermansson's probably going to be able to take over, pick Jacare apart, even potentially take him down and beat him up on the ground when Jacare is too tired to defend himself. I know that seems unthinkable, but it is very, very possible when you consider how tired Jacare's looked in the 2nd round against Weidman and Gastelum, and consider how he may look in the 4th and 5th rounds of a 5-round main event fight. So if we look at Hermansson though, His average odds currently around about 2.60, which is plus 160 for an implied probability of 38%. I really don't like a bet on Hermansson here because, like I say, he is very low level on the ground, not particularly dangerous standing. He's second best to Jacare everywhere, and because he is primarily a grappler, instinctively a grappler, he does look to initiate grappling exchanges with his opponents, and if he does that with Jacare, that could get him into a lot of trouble because he does have a habit of getting caught in really deep submissions. He's very tough, he's got a lot of heart, he tries to fight out of them, but when Jacare locks in a very tight submission, it doesn't matter who you are, chances are he is going to get the finish. So that is how I feel about that fight, guys. That is pretty much it for today's video. Thank you for watching. I hope you appreciate this video. I would also really appreciate it if you hit the like button below and also subscribe to my channel. And I'll be back as soon as I can with part 2 of this video. Just remember, it's a busy week for me, so please don't be upset or disappointed if I can't get as many videos out this week as I usually would. But I will do my best to work my ass off to get as much content out for you as I can. But remember, this Saturday is huge for us. KSW live betting, KSW pre-fight betting, Bellator pre-fight betting, Bellator live betting, and then also the cherry on top of the cake, UFC on ESPN 3. Pre-fight betting looks good, live betting's always good. I hope you crush it this weekend, guys. Take care, and I'll see you soon.
Too many thoughts on my mind, I can't sleep at night, so I just keep writing. I don't need no help, I don't need opinions, so don't waste my time then. I just been living online, my city don't show me no love and that's fine. Fuck local radio stations, I got more plays than all of these rappers combined. I'm going again, I've been going in, I'm fed up with so many things, I gotta just let it all out. I'm talking about the shit they've been talking